All right, so let's get to your questions because I want to answer as many as possible today. So the first question that was previously submitted is about codependency, and I'm actually really excited to talk about this. It's a great question. So someone asked, I can't seem to get a solid grasp on what it means or looks like to be codependent. I would love to hear your explanation and maybe some relationship examples. Thank you. Yeah, so this is a great question. And just to start out with, I do not like the term codependent. I don't like it at all. I don't use it in any of my content. I don't talk about it in these lives here or these videos here because I think that it pathologizes a very natural and normal instinct to be in relationships, to be dependent on people, to get attached to people, to care for other people. So this is not the problem here. What I find for myself and for the women I work with, what is actually going on is there's a lack of self-love. That lack of self-love ends up keeping us in relationships for too long, trying to get love and care and attention from people who really are just unable to do that or are unwilling to do that. So the term I actually like here is a self-love deficit. And this is a term that was coined by, I believe it was Ross Rosenberg. He wrote the book Human Magnet Syndrome. He's a psychologist and a researcher, but really he identified this very thing that I agree with him, that it isn't, the problem isn't depending on other people. The problem is staying in relationships too long with the wrong people, with people who can't love you back. And so when you love yourself, when you learn how to love yourself and release all the stuff from your past that's holding you back from doing that, that's when those dynamics that people call codependency, that's when those shift. That's when you're able to leave those relationships that aren't serving you, where you're not being loved, where you're not being cared for, and you're able to find healthy relationships. So to whoever asked this question, that might be why you're struggling with understanding codependency, because it's really not a clear term. And codependency was actually originally a term from the substance abuse community. They used codependency to talk about either a caregiver or a partner of someone who was an addict, whether it was a substance addict or a gambling addict. It was from the addiction community. And it's really been taken from that and generalized to explain a lot of different relationship dynamics. And like I said before, I personally do not find it a helpful term. And it's not even a real diagnosis. Codependency, you will not find that term or that diagnosis in the DSM. The DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's the thing that therapists and psychiatrists use to diagnose people with certain disorders or illnesses. Codependency isn't in there. So, for my personal experience, when I was first learning about toxic relationships and abusive relationships, I came across this term codependency, and a lot of people were really into it and using it, and I could not resonate with it at all. And I said, you know what, this is not a helpful term. This is not what's actually the problem here. Like I said, it's depending on other people, caring about other people, desiring to be in a relationship is not the problem. The problem is when we want that from people who can't give it to us. And so we have to love ourselves enough to leave those relationships and seek love elsewhere. So, like I said, I don't feel it's a helpful term. If you do feel like it's a helpful term to describe those relationship dynamics, feel free to hold on to it if it works for you. I personally didn't think it worked for me, and I don't think it's helpful. So if you're trying to figure out what codependency is and you can't figure it out and it's not feeling good, feel free to drop that label. It's absolutely not necessary. And here in this group, and what I teach freedom here. So I don't think we need to burden ourselves with any unnecessary labels or diagnoses that aren't helpful for us. I'm all about freedom here. So freedom essentially means letting go of the belief that there is something wrong with you for wanting to be in a relationship. Oh, I have a siren going by. Sorry, guys. So freedom that there's something wrong with you, that you're codependent. You are free to let go of all those terms if they are not serving you. So that was a really great question, and I hope that this cleared it up. What we can say to describe these toxic relationship dynamics that are going on is, like I said before, we can say that we do need to love ourselves more. That is what shifts this dynamic. We don't need to learn how to stop depending on people. We don't need to learn how to stop caring for people, because these are really amazing qualities that when we bring them into a healthy relationship, it's wonderful. There's no problem here. The problem is when we are staying in relationships too long. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. Okay, so let me see. Oh, and what I also wanted to share here is that in my work with my clients, in my program, the entire program is about learning how to love ourselves, because that is what shifts these dynamics. It's not codependency. It's the lack of self-love that keeps us in these relationship dynamics, that keeps us staying too long with emotionally unavailable people, that keeps us with abusive people. And so everything that I do is focused on loving yourselves, releasing the emotional baggage that's making you feel like you don't deserve a better relationship, and shifting some of those deep-seated beliefs that are keeping you stuck in these relationship dynamics. So my whole entire program is about self-love to help you guys shift these dynamics and have much better relationships. So if you're interested in my work, as always, you're free to message me and I will reach out to you. So let me just see here. Yeah, Bonali says, not helpful, the term codependent. Yeah, it's caused a lot of damage in my healing too. Exactly, Bonali. I strongly dislike that term. I don't think it's helpful, because it's so natural for us as humans to want to be in relationships and to care about each other and be dependent. And so that's not the issue when it comes to toxic relationships. Yeah, Cassie's saying also, I never found those tools helpful. Yeah, I didn't relate to it. Exactly. So yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about this codependency, and I'm glad that we could clear that up here. And I see, thank you guys for submitting these questions. I'm going to get to the pre-submitted ones first, and then I will answer your questions here. So the next question that someone submitted ahead of time was talking about fear of rejection. So they said, fear of rejection is a biggie for me, and it's easier to just be alone. Very understandable. How do I overcome this? I've been out of a toxic, narcissistic 10-year relationship for 9 months now, but it may just be easier to be alone. Yeah, so this is completely understandable. And let me know in the comments or give me a heart or a like if you have felt this at some point. I certainly did at some point. I was like, these relationships are brutal. They have quite literally left me feeling torn apart. Maybe it's just easier to be single. So I'm curious if any of you have also experienced this. But when we talk about rejection and dating, what we want to do is normalize rejection. And it's not even a rejection, and that's what I want to talk about here. It's not what we think it means. Rejection feels very personal. It feels like I'm not good enough, or there's something wrong with me, or I need to be better to be loved or accepted. But what we have to understand is when it comes to dating, it's really not personal. Okay? It's really not. What we have to understand is that we are not going to be a match for everyone. And I want us to start looking at it from this perspective of us. When we're out there dating, we're swiping people or we're meeting people in real life, not everyone is going to be right for us. We're looking for one person. So we're going to meet people who don't want the same things that we do. Maybe they don't have the same values we do. Maybe they're looking for something else. Maybe we're just not compatible. But if you look at it from your perspective, usually it's not that they're not good enough. It's just that they're not a match for what you're looking for. So they're not a good fit. And that's what it is from the other side too. For people that are looking at you and are interested in you and are seeing if you're going to be a right fit for them. It's usually not personal. It's not that you're not good enough. They have specific things that they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for someone who's going to want to travel a lot and you're not that type of person. Or maybe they're looking for someone who really enjoys going out and drinking a lot, and maybe that's not who you are. It's not actually a rejection. All of that being said, yes, it does feel like a rejection at times. You know, dating is going to bring up some of these feelings, yes, but it's not personal. So, you know, when we're out there dating, we have to remember that we don't need to be this perfect person. All that we're looking for and all that we need and all that other people need from us is just someone who fits with us. So when you're dating and you're not meeting the right person, remember that you just need to find someone who fits with you. We don't need perfection, and someone else doesn't need perfection in you. You just need to fit together. So let's say, hypothetically, that you're out there and you're dating and someone says, you know, I really enjoyed my time with you, but I don't feel a connection, or I don't feel like we're the right person. That's okay. This doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us or we're not good enough. No, it just means that we weren't the right person for them. But we may be the perfect person for someone else. And so that's what we need to keep in mind when we're dating and looking for people. Just because someone doesn't feel that we're a good fit for them doesn't mean that there's going to be another person out there who's going to be like, oh my God, this girl, this woman is amazing. I'm going to snatch her up. So keep that in mind when it comes to rejection and dating. But if you find that when you're going out there and people are saying, you know, no thank you to you, or it doesn't seem like it's a good fit, and you're feeling really, really bad about yourself, or you're feeling really deeply rejected, this might mean that there is some more healing to do. And if that happens, please reach out for support. Get support from a therapist, get support from a coach. This is part of the work that I do here. There's lots of support out there. So if you are feeling like these rejections are hitting you very deeply, make sure you're getting support, and that's going to help a lot. Cassie's saying, yeah, I love how you say it only takes one. Yeah, we're not, we don't need to be liked by every single person out there. We just need to find one that's a good fit for us and who we like just as much back. So yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, Cassie's saying, absolutely. I felt very torn between wanting to date and wanting to stay safe in my singleness after my divorce, after splitting from my narcissistic ex. That's a really great way to put it. It feels very safe to stay single, and maybe that's what we need to do for a time. But if we do have that desire to be in a relationship, to be loved again, ladies, I can promise you, or gentlemen, if you're watching this too, I know sometimes I put these on YouTube and men watch it too, but it's worth that initial anxiety. It's worth that initial discomfort to get back out there and to try to have another relationship. It really is worth it if that's what you're looking for. Nothing wrong with staying single if that's what you want. But if you do want to find love again, it is absolutely worth it. And make sure you get support. That really, really makes a big difference here. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here with these questions. So the next question is, I met a guy last November that I wasn't that interested in. He liked me a lot, and I'm going to just summarize this question here. We talked every day, several times a day for 9 months, and then suddenly he dumped me for a girl who looked very much like me. This is a tough one. So the question here is how to avoid pitfalls like this one when you believe it to be real. So basically, this person was with someone, talking to them for a long time, and all of a sudden they just dumped them out of the blue. So what you want to look for here are signs of emotional unavailability. The clients that I work with, they get a very detailed list of all the signs that someone is not fully with you, not fully in the relationship with you. So I'm just going to go over some quick ones here. One sign of emotional unavailability is that they don't leave things at your house or your place, and they don't let you do the same at their house or their place. That's a sign. Another sign is that they need a lot of space, like an excessive amount of space. People need space in relationships, and that's normal. But if they need a lot of space, like if they're always saying, I just need some space, I just need some time alone, that's a sign that they may not be fully in the relationship. Taking a long time to get back to you. Now, we don't need someone who gets back to us immediately or within a couple minutes, but if they take a day or 2 or 3 or even a week to get back to you, that could be a sign that someone is not fully in the relationship with you. That could be a sign of emotional unavailability. Another sign could be that they're avoiding conflict. So some people say that, oh, we have a great relationship, we never fight. That's not actually a healthy relationship. That means someone is either afraid of conflict, or they don't feel safe enough, or they're not fully invested in the relationship to bring all of themselves and all of their thoughts and feelings and opinions into the relationship. A healthy relationship does have some conflict because you have two people with two very different perspectives and two different ways of viewing the world and two different ways of doing things. So a normal, healthy relationship does have that conflict. It's healthy conflict. But if you're not having any conflict at all, that could be a sign that someone is not fully in the relationship or they're unavailable in some way. So those are some signs that you can look for that someone might not be totally invested in the relationship. But I do have to say here that ultimately, sometimes there's no other way to tell other than to give the relationship time. Because someone can show up really well in the beginning of the relationship. They can say all the right things, they can do all the right things, but then in time, they reveal themselves to be quite different. So, sometimes people are quite often asking me, like, what is the foolproof way to tell if someone is going to be the right person for you? And there really isn't. There really isn't. I can give you all of these checklists and red flag checklists, and they're helpful, but sometimes you just have to give it time. Because like I said, people can show up really well in the beginning, but they can't sustain it. So, what we really have to talk about here is that there are no guarantees in love. And I hate saying that as a person who was very anxiously attached. Man, I wanted a guarantee. I thought marriage was a guarantee. Marriage is not a guarantee in love. So, what we have to understand here is that a relationship can end at any time. Of course, there's things that we can look for to make sure that this person is secure and they're really invested in us and they want a relationship. But in the end, people do change. And that's what we have to sort of make peace with when we're talking about relationships. Other people can change, their values might change, what they're looking for might change. We ourselves can change. What we're looking for can change. What we want out of a relationship can change. So what we do have to understand is that there's no guarantees here. People can change. And what a healthy relationship is two people that are choosing to be together every single day. They're not bound by a legal contract. They're not bound by obligation or guilt. They're choosing to show up every day. And sometimes people choose differently after a while. So this hurts. It's very painful when this happens, but this is the reality of relationship and love and dating. And it's like I said, it was very difficult for me to come to terms with this as someone who in the past was very anxious and wanted that guarantee. I didn't want anyone to ever leave me. I didn't want a relationship to change. And I had to eventually come to terms with the fact that I was actually the one that was changing in a lot of cases, and the relationships I was in previously weren't working for me. And that was okay. That was okay. So to the person who asked this question, my heart goes out to you. I know this must be incredibly painful, but sometimes this does happen. And what you can remind yourself of is if this relationship didn't work out like it didn't, there's going to be another one out there that will. And maybe you're with that person for the rest of your life, or maybe you're only with them for a year or two. but you can find love again. So there is hope here, and I hope that this helps answer your question. Okay, thank you guys for your comments. Let me answer one or two of these live questions here, and then I'm going to go back to the pre-submitted questions. Okay, so I see a question here from Afshin. How do we get over missing the ex-narc even though we leave them for our own sanity? How do we overcome the euphoric memories made with them? Great question. So many people struggle with this. I know this was the case for me too. Because when we're with these people who are more narcissistic, these relationships can be incredibly intense. They can be incredibly intoxicating. What helps to remember here is that a healthy relationship takes much more than just a couple moments of really good times. Really good times, they're great, they're fun to have, but they are not going to sustain a relationship long term. What you need in a healthy relationship are things like respect, consideration, care, empathy. Fun times, yeah, you want to have some fun times. But when we're talking about a narcissistic relationship, we can get so caught up in all of the good feelings and the good times we had with them that we forget that that's not what's going to keep a relationship healthy in the long term. We need so much more than that. But, Afshin, when it comes to the emotional connections and the emotional attachment that we feel towards this person, that does take a while to unwind. Part of the work I do in my program is to help women unwind that connection that they feel towards an ex. We do that through things like energy healing, releasing the emotions that are fueling the trauma bond, shifting some of the subconscious beliefs that are keeping us feeling really tied and connected to that narcissistic person. But unfortunately, there is no magic wand that you can wave that's going to make that stuff go away instantly. It is a process of grieving. It's a process of grieving the loss of what you had with this person, but also all of your hopes and dreams that you had related to them, the potential that you saw for that relationship. So it is a very difficult process, and I always recommend getting as much support as you can. But when you find yourself idealizing that person, remind yourself of all the things that were lacking about that relationship. So you're seeing it from a more objective perspective. It's okay to miss those good times, but you also want to give yourself that reality check. Oh yeah, look at all the things that we're missing in the relationship. So that's a really great question, and it's something that so many of us struggle with. Thank you for asking that. All right, so let me answer one more live question here, and then I'm going to go back to the pre-submitted ones. So Karen asks, how do you deal with guilt over blocking someone who isn't treating you right? Great question. I unfriended the man who had been ghosting or zombieing me. I like those terms. His social media was hurting me because he's in a very dark place right now, and I couldn't help him, and he wouldn't talk to me, so I just cut it off and walked away. But I feel so bad that I gave up and closed the door completely. This is a great question, Karen. Thank you so much for asking it. So yeah, we can tend, if we are self-identifying as people who are empathic and who are very caring and who feel other people's emotions very deeply, we can feel so guilty when we decide to block someone or to unfriend them on social media or to leave a relationship with them. But this is what I talked about, like when I was talking earlier about codependency. This is not codependency. What we're talking about here when this is happening is a lack of self-love. And so when the dynamics here are when someone is hurting us or just not treating us well, we tend to forget about our own feelings and want to cater to theirs, to make sure they're okay, to make sure that they're not hurt at the expense of ourselves. This is from conditioning. This could be conditioning from society that you picked up. This could be conditioning from your family. A lot of women are taught that this is the right way to be. They have to care about other people to the detriment of their own needs. So that's where this is coming from. And so to shift this, we have to remember that our emotions And our emotional safety, our physical safety is just as important as someone else's safety, as someone else's comfort. And once we end a relationship with someone, once we decide that this person is not for us, or this relationship is too hurtful to me, it's no longer your responsibility to care for that person, to be emotionally there for that person. There are so many resources out there for people that are going through breakups. There's groups like this, there's YouTube channels, there's therapists, there's coaches, there's counselors. There's so many people that are out there supporting people who are going through challenging times. It's not your job to do that for someone who you're no longer in a relationship with. So when that guilt comes up, and it probably will, because coming out of conditioning is not, again, there's no magic wand here. There's not this process that it happens just like that. It's a slow process of stopping doing things that you used to do that were hurting you, like staying connected to this person, and sitting in whatever feelings come up. Whether it's the guilt, whether it's anxiety, whether it's sadness that you're not connected to this person anymore, and reminding yourself that taking these steps is setting you up for a much, much better future. And I bet, even though the guilt is there, it probably also feels pretty good to not have to deal with this person's coming in and out of your life anymore. It can feel really, really amazing. So keep those feelings in mind. Remind yourself how good it feels to not put yourself out there to be hurt again by this person. That's self-love. And so that's part of what this journey is. So also, to this person asking the question, if you need support with that, please feel free to message me. This is exactly what I do in my program. Okay, so let me go to these pre-submitted questions here again. So this is a really great question. Hold on, let me take a sip of water here. The question was, how can I stop choosing unavailable men? This is kind of like the question here. Like, how do I stop doing that? And I'm going to give a really simple answer, and it's going to sound like, well, duh. But the answer is we stop doing it. And now let me elaborate on this. We stop choosing these men. We stop staying so long when we see the signs that this person isn't totally in, that they're not fully emotionally available. When we see the signs, when we see the hot and cold, when we see the I'm here one day, I'm gone the next, when we see someone who's not interested in sharing thoughts and emotions, or maybe they're still hung up on their ex, we don't make excuses for them. We don't think that they're going to change. We don't think that maybe if I just love them enough, they'll choose me. No. We stop engaging. We leave that relationship. And I know that this is much, much easier said than done, but this is how you do it. You just stop. Now, the work of loving yourself is what makes this process so much easier. It's what makes it so much, it's like once you love yourself and once you work on that and release all of the blocks that are preventing you from loving yourself, then when it comes to emotionally unavailable men, it's actually not even that much of a choice. You just see them and you're like, nah, I am not interested in this. I deserve so much more. When you haven't done that work, that's when it's really hard. So to the person who asked this question, make sure you're getting some support. Like you guys, I'm always telling you about my program. I am here for this. This is the work that I do. I help women to love themselves so they can find healthy relationships. But there's so many people out there also that are doing this. So I don't care whether you get this help from me or someone else, just get that support to help you love yourself. And that's what makes it so much easier to stop choosing people who don't fully choose you back. So I hope that helps here. Okay, one last pre-submitted question here, and then I'm going to get back to the live questions, is how do I know if I'm reading too negatively into someone's initial approach to ask me out? Lately, it feels like all I see are men looking for an easy target, and isn't it too soon when they ask to meet right away without having an initial exchange over text or phone? So her question is, am I just overly suspicious of every guy's intentions? So the answer to this question is possibly. It really depends here. So some people do like to meet right away. And this in itself is not a red flag. This is really just different people's comfort levels. And I personally am someone that does recommend meeting relatively soon, because the last thing that you want to do is to be texting someone or just messaging them for weeks or months at a time. And then you form this connection with them, this attachment. And then when you meet in real life, they can be very, very different from who you thought they were. Because when you do a lot of texting, you end up creating like a fantasy image of this person, of who you think they are. And the real life person could be very different. So asking to hang out relatively quickly is not a bad thing in itself. What you can do if that's happening, if someone wants to meet right away, is you can say, oh yeah, I'd be open to that, but let's talk a little bit more first. And you can text a little bit more. You can ask to do a phone call. Video call is the best. That's a good way of gauging someone, whether they're real or not, because sometimes that happens. There's a lot of scammers out there. But you want to eventually try to meet relatively soon. So this is not a problem here. That being said, everyone has different comfort levels as to how soon they're ready to meet someone. You might be someone that wants to text back and forth for a week before meeting someone. That's okay. Other people might want to just do like a quick couple back and forth texts and say, all right, you know what, seems good enough. Let's go meet and see if we have something here in person. So it's not that there's something wrong with this approach. But all that being said, if someone is matching with you and immediately just asking to meet up with you or if anyone asks you to come to their house on a first date, don't do that. But if they're asking to meet very, very quickly without having that exchange, you are perfectly within your rights to say, no, I'm not interested in that. Or you can do like what I said, to ask for further conversation or a video call, just something. So, if you're feeling uncomfortable, do pay attention to that. Because this is also about boundaries. If someone is really, pushing you a little bit too hard or making you feel uncomfortable about meeting right away, that's a sign that this is probably not the right person for you. So do pay very close attention to how you're feeling when you're talking with someone, okay? So if you do find that you're feeling overly suspicious about everyone, there could be some more healing that has to happen. And this is one of the things that I help women with in my program. We go specifically into releasing any blocks to trust or not being open to love, because there's a lot of things that we can pick up on from our past relationships that really make it difficult to trust people, to trust the right people. We don't want to trust everyone. We want to be very discerning with our trust. And so if that's happening a lot, like I said, there could be some more healing that has to happen. So I hope that this answered your question. Let me go back and see if there are any questions here that I missed. Okay, let's see. And thank you guys for all your questions here. This makes it so awesome. Yeah, so Karen just commented here, I feel like my last partner ripped me apart emotionally, and we weren't together that long. It was so intense, and the push-pull, anxious avoidant dance drove me crazy. Yes, you don't have to be in a long relationship to feel, just like you said, completely torn apart emotionally. If you're with the right person, as far as, I don't mean a good person for you, I mean like the right person who just pushes all of those buttons for you, and not in a good way, in a negative way. Yeah, you don't have to be with them long to feel really, really bad after being with them. So yeah, Karen, completely understandable. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, so Linda's saying, I wish I would have heard all this a year ago. It's so true. Yeah, well, Linda, better late than never, for sure. Cassie's saying, working with you is what I needed to get unstuck from the trauma bond with my narcissistic ex. Hands down, the hardest thing I've ever done is being in that relationship and then dealing with the devastating aftermath once it ended. Cassie, thank you for your kind words. And yes, same for me. The aftermath of a toxic narcissistic relationship is just brutal. It's brutal. And so yeah, ladies, this is the work that I do. I help you to unravel the trauma bond. So if you are stuck in a trauma bond, please message me. We can chat and see if I can help you. The work that I do, I've done so many different things along my healing journey. I've been on a healing journey for a long time, you guys, years and years. And the work that I do is the most powerful healing modalities that I have ever found. So I only do what works in my program. So yes, if you're stuck in a trauma bond, message me. I can definitely help you with that. Okay. I think I missed some questions here. Let's see. Oh, Cassie, thank you for your kind words about my program. Thank you. Well, maybe I answered them all. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just go for a few more minutes here. If you guys have any additional questions, please put them in the comments. Otherwise, I will just wrap this up here. But let me also know what other topics you're interested in learning more about. Because I have some ideas for some upcoming lives, but if you have some questions, these lives are for you. So let me know what you need support with, whether it's healing, spiritual awakening, dating, having healthy relationships. Put them in the comments and I will definitely see if I can create a live training for you about that specific issue. All right, you guys, thank you so much for participating in this. I do not see any more questions. So have a wonderful week and I will see you next week. All right, take care.